I am such a fan of MarketPlace. In this series, we are going to be going through the listings from a buyer's perspective, what we're looking at, because we want to see what we're buying. Like, I feel like you actually are buying the photo first. And because I love plants so much, we're going to start off with that in this series because, plants can get a little tricky. And I'm going to show you the reasons why. And I'm going to save you some gas too. And it's tricky because plants, they come in different shapes, sizes, they have different problems. They want attention, they don't want attention. So I want to share some things that I look for on MarketPlace when I'm purchasing a plant and before I waste my gas. But it wouldn't be wasting gas in the end if you just take a few of these tips into consideration. So we're going to look at what makes a photo feel trustworthy when purchasing on MarketPlace. So let's take a look.
So let's start with angles. For me, trust is built off of angles. And you might think I'm a little basic for saying this, but hear me out because look at this cactus. It's little, it's cute, it has 3 flowers on top of it, but it's important that the seller put another angle of this because you would have never known that there were 5 flowers sitting on top of this cactus. And we're missing a lot of this when we go through listings, believe it or not, as a buyer. This plant here, the string of pearls, and forgive me because I don't know every plant name, I just love them, but the string of pearls here, I love this angle because it's showing the fullness of the top of the plant, that it's very full here. But in this separate listing, these are 2 separate listings, this only shows length of this same type of plant. And if you didn't know much about this plant, you just thought it was pretty or you just thought it was interesting, you wouldn't pick up on the fact that it's not just long. There are gaps. It's not as full as it is long. So the top of this plant, missing this angle, may not be as full. And here, there wasn't another angle to show what that's like. So next up are close-ups. Say that you looked at a listing and this was the first photo. You would be looking at it like, okay, what for? But trust the close-up because the seller could be trying to show you the soil or the health of the stem and even the way that it's being supported. You may or may not even want your plant growing this way. So the close-up of this is very much appreciated. Like, what if it was just this photo alone? You wouldn't know anything about that support system that it has. This full frontal isn't necessarily a close-up, but it does bring us back to angles being very important, very much appreciated. But you could see they're trying to be honest by giving us a full look of the imperfections of the leaves. You might not want a plant that has any imperfections. So this is what I like to see, just bringing that honesty and making it feel trustworthy, which is the point and why we don't want to just jump in the car to go get something that we're not very sure of. And the fact that the seller is so awesome for doing this, like showing that this is just some pot, I don't even know if this is a pot. But this is how it's potted. And it's awesome because if you go to buy this and you did not see this pot or container, you might not mind, but you might freak out. If you're not really attracted to the look of this, you would have to find yourself repotting this plant. If you know anything about repotting, could be a little risky and put the plant into shock. But this close-up gives us an opportunity to make a decision. I like this. I like this. And just to touch on that part about honesty, there are sellers that have good intentions, but they are unaware that it comes across as dishonest or not so trustworthy. All of these plants inside this box doesn't give us much detail, but not to say that this seller is not trying to be honest, but it does open up this door full of questions for the seller that they might not even have time for, and possibly hurt their sales. But to throw in a little bit of weird here, when I'm given all these lovely angles, I like to just flip through it really fast like this. It makes me feel like I'm there and it just gives it so much shape. But anyway, what I'm really trying to show here is the blossom on the cactus and how the close-up was meant for this. Here is another close-up, but don't just depend on one close-up photo. We need the photo that backs off, because look at how much smaller this is. If you pay close attention to the previous photo, of course it's two separate plants, but they're in the same bunch, but you can't really tell what size this is. You might think it's all one plant if you aren't able to catch that detail in the photo. These flowers bring us to the next trustworthy tip. Stages of maturity. This gorgeous, rare looking flower came from this? Are you joking? I'm gonna have to find out the name of this. I do not know, but if the seller never showed us the stages, I would have never known. We would have never known that it would produce such a gorgeous flower. And just to think, a lot of buyers probably would have easily overlooked this if it wasn't for this flower. I bet there's many cactus lovers that only get the cactus for the flower. So this is actually so good. As far as the stages, you can kind of see what it may look like through the year. It's a little brownish in color, greenish in color. It looks drier, then more red. This really shows a range of maturity. Well done. This is what we want to see. But you know what makes Facebook Marketplace an easy place? Measurements. I love good measurements. Angles, they go a long way, but with measurements, it takes it a little further, because sometimes those angles are just a little bit too close and we may not be able to see the true proportion of the plant, especially when there aren't any other objects alongside of it to be able to have a reference of its size. I know it's not some huge piece of furniture, but these plants, they get kind of tall, they get long, and it helps. It makes it easy. I love when the seller gives the measurement for the leaf span. Sometimes these 2-foot-long leaves, like, I love it. Just doing the math from there puts things into this fun perspective that sometimes it just can't be achieved by angles alone. For this listing, We could tell that this pothos is fairly long. It's sitting on top of a bookshelf. We could tell, but my curiosity is there because this photo was cut off at the bottom and there was only one photo provided in the listing. And, it happens in listings, but if the seller doesn't at least provide the proper measurements in the details, at least, then it's kind of selling it short. And of course, leaving the door open for me to inconvenience the seller by asking more questions or causing me to just go find a pothos that shows its full length. Lastly, on what I look for, a good video of the listing. I feel like this is the ultimate trust builder if it's done correctly. The movement in a video gives us that range. Mix it with some good lighting, natural light preferably, with a good quality camera or camera phone. Like, I know this is Facebook Marketplace, and I know that I'm asking for like Instagram Reels. I know. But it's like we're there. We pretty much made our mind up and we did it a lot faster. Monkey tails, one of my favorites, by the way.
Trust is everything. Next time you guys are ready to head out, at least you know what you're gonna go get. So yeah, hope that helps. We'll do another one.